we'll try and see if we can end the week 5 for 5 and see what we can get today. But yesterday was a really nice day. I took the short, but in all fairness, the moneymaker was from my from basically the manipulation on the lows is what set up the short, and that was pretty much. I mean, I sort of kicking myself for not taking the long straight after the short, but because I had 2 attempts catching that short, as you guys probably were aware, to get myself back up in the green after 2 trades, I was like, I see the long, and weekly bias is obviously bullish. I feel like yearly bias is pretty much bullish. So yeah, a bit annoyed I didn't take the long, but at the same time, there is always another trade, so it's not the end of the world. I am just logging into some of my other accounts, so just bear with me for a minute or two, and I'll be on. So we are logged in. Just wanted to get logged in on some of the accounts. So yesterday, I've got both. You'll notice on my charts, I've got both the NQ on the ETH and also the RTH. Reason being is because yesterday was very technical on both time frames, which I do think it's quite useful to break down. In terms of a weekly point of view, we have our week starting from Monday, technically Sunday, but Monday, and our extension that has been most technical, or the only extension we've really had, for me, would be the Wednesday draw, because you had an extension that played out but never came down to the halfway back on Tuesday. So my draw that I played is pretty much, if I just show you on, if I sync this to all time frames, you can see on Wednesday we came down on the RTH. We traded a halfway back. Let me know if you guys can see that. Okay, should be able to. I do appreciate I've got a 4 grid on, so it might not be as easy to see, but you should. I haven't even got Discord open, I don't think. Let me just get Discord up just in case there's any questions. If you can't see it, let me know, but you should be able to see the screen okay. I know it's on a 4 grid, but if there's any problems, let me know. So we came down on Wednesday, traded that halfway back, and what's really cool about this is on the 4-hour chart, I had this level printed at the ATR low, and this red line here is literally that level. So this is not just me drawing a line. Isn't it insane how that level that I drew that was printed weeks ago, well, not weeks ago, last week, that ends up becoming the intraday support break and retest 62% retracement long. Sometimes you literally just can't make it up, right? So that's the weekly extension that I'm playing off. And of course, it completed T1. It went same anchor new high, completed T1 again. And also, if we extend this out, where are we? It completed negative 62 and that negative 100. So of course, that is what I'm saying is the anchor that I have been using. And as you can see, that's where we came down to yesterday, Thursday, on the overnight session. And then of course, if you draw same anchor new high, you will see we did not trade on the RTH. So the reason I have this draw here is because this is the extended trading hours. And then if you look to my left, that same extension, which is here basically, the 10:30 anchor on Wednesday, which is the RTH 10:30 anchor, which is here. This extension is this one here, okay? And that high to high, disregarding the overnight, is what we came down into on yesterday's open. The reason I also have this on is because you can see, if you look quite closely, you can see what's called yesterday's RTH low. So yesterday's RTH low was literally the previous day's RTH high. So if I go back in time and show you yesterday when we opened, you will notice that when we opened yesterday, if I get rid of these draws, we opened yesterday literally a break and retest of Wednesday's high. Wednesday's high 230. Yesterday we opened, tagged that high and ripped instantly for a matter of like 220 points, right? So that's why I have that on my screen. And of course, now it's showing as yesterday's high, which is yesterday's low, which is obviously that. So you want to see break and retests to go higher on highs and obviously lower on lows. Going into today, I'm going to keep the weekly extension that has basically held this entire week, which is this same anchor new high. Those upside targets, as you can see, are on my screen as 22,184 and also 22,343. Now, in terms of the RTH session, we are still in extensions that have not fully... Oh no, sorry. We have completed them on the overnight session. So if I just see if I can copy and paste this onto here. No. If I copy this draw, so I'm using... Yeah, so it's not going to do it as well. But essentially, that completion from the RTH session was 22,125, and we have traded that on the RTH, on the extended trading session hours, right? And we are coming back up into yesterday's RTH high. Anything around here right now for me is kind of like chop. I don't really want to pay attention to anything too much until we do get those deeper retracements. The reason I have NQ continuous and NQ on the actual contract is so that I can switch between the two, because my draws on the RTH are going to be different to the extended trading sessions on some days, because obviously of where I'm drawing them from. So I've got two different charts just to keep them separate. But ideally, I would like to copy, I can copy this on here, which is pretty much Wednesday's half 10 high. If I just show you Wednesday's half 10 high, which is here, to yesterday's, you can see they have completed that negative 23. And that is pretty much where we are running up to. So yesterday I didn't even think we... yesterday, I mean, look how insanely accurate that extension was. It came right up to it. Right up to that draw. Look at it. Beautiful. And then sold off 62 points. And of course, that is where we currently are. So, and I always go on about like using fibs as my like sort of strategy, but like, I just don't know how you would trade without it, right? Because it's just so methodical. And it just keeps you out of trouble most of the time, in my opinion, right? You're going to get the odd day or two out of the month where it just, doesn't work, so to speak. But, that's why you have to use stops, of course, right? Because nothing's going to work all the time. But I think I've beaten that up, quite a lot. But in terms of going in today, what I'm going to be looking for is pretty much just pullbacks. The whole week has been long biased. And on the overnight, we have come into the high to high from the weekly overnight extension draw. Again, this is your anchor from Wednesday. It trades the halfway back. It trades the same anchor new high. It completes negative 23. You look for that high to high, and it has traded the overnight low at 20,045. I am pretty much bullish above that level, and I would even bid the overnight low as well, risking the 62 or an ATR of whatever the current 5-minute ATR is. But right now, there's nothing for me to do. I would want to see, at least some sort of deeper retracement. But it looks like we have had this half an hour candle that has been rebalanced. So there will be, potentially breaking those highs. Might run you back up into overnight highs. But it's not a trade I would take just because of the range that we're in. I would need some sort of retracement down. So hopefully that's useful. I think it's a good session to go through in terms of studying yesterday, because it was very clean in terms of those overnight. That's why I put like photos in the room last night of my charts, because they were just so clean. I even took notes myself and like took screenshots and like did an actual like sort of back testing day on my own, because I did think it was very educational yesterday. So that is what I have in terms of draws that I'm going to go into today. I've got my halfway back high to high at 20,045 that I will keep on deck. And in terms of if we get deeper pullbacks, then I would look for the overnight lows to get taken out. And I would then look for a potential retracement back down into that 22,000 area, 21,950 area, okay, which is pretty much going back down into yesterday's sort of midpoint, I would say, back into balance. So that's all I have. In terms of the short side, if you were wanting to take shorts from a zoomed out point of view, you could argue, again, as I mentioned this morning, you can argue that we have completed those extensions from yesterday, again, here. So if I put this draw on 10:30, you can see we are opening up at that completion. So 1, look above and fail above, and then this is 2. Also, this is RTH, yesterday's RTH high, so you may have some sells in here. If you do, then potentially you risk. The only reason I'm not taking this as a short, even though I see the completion, is just because we're at that 62. I don't like taking shorts when you're so close to the 62. That doesn't mean you can't sell, and ideally I want it to sell because I want to buy retracements lower, but I would much rather, as I always say, just because you want the opposite side of a trade doesn't mean you have to take it, if that makes sense. Just because you want price to come down doesn't mean you short. Does that make sense? Like, you don't have to, just because you're waiting for retracements doesn't always mean you're going to get them. So hopefully we do get retracements down because I want to be able to buy some discount, but I don't necessarily know if we're going to get them. So hopefully that's been useful. If there are any questions, let me know in the Discord, and I will put my screen on Tradeovate.